All right, it's exactly 7 a.m. from the studios of Omoluwabi at 7.7 FM. And I welcome you to another interesting edition of the program, Newslands, right here on Omoluwabi. It is 7.7 FM. You know how we do it on the program. We bring you newspaper reviews. I review some of the headlines of the Nigerian dailies on a daily basis. Yes, from Mondays to Fridays, as I'll do it from 7 a.m. Till around 8 a.m. on this dial, Omoluwabi, it is 7.7 FM. A wonderful morning to you. Welcome to another interesting edition of the program. Happy New Week. It's a new week already, and then we are excited and glad to be a part of the new week. We hope it's going to be a productive one for us all. All right. Without much ado, my name is Oluwatayo Ajiwole, and I'm reporting for duty today, the 29th day in the month of July 2024. How you doing? Trust you're good. Trust we are on our way to work already. Probably, if you're like me, you're at work already. Probably you're still trying to figure some things out at home. Anyway, it is you are, just make sure that you stay glued to your radio set this morning and throughout the whole day. Stay locked to Omoluwabi, the 7.7 FM, because this is the station that brings you the best in news talk and, of course, in music. Yeah, we are the voice of integrity. You can count on us anytime, any day. All right, like I said earlier, it's Newslands right here on Omoluwabi, here the 7.7 FM. And you know how we do it on the program. We review some of the newspaper headlines, and then we also give you a chance. You get the opportunity to be a part of the program. When the time comes, we open the phone lines for you to join the conversation. Yeah, you join the conversation, you drop your comments, and you air your views as regards some of the things we'll be discussing on the show this morning. All right, I also have my analyst in the studio. When the time comes, I'll be introducing my analyst. All right, this morning I've got 5 newspapers with me in the studio, and I'll be taking the headlines very quickly this morning. I've got the Nigerian Tribune, I've got the Punch newspaper, I've got the Guardian newspaper, and of course the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Okay, I'll be starting with the headlines. You know how we do it on the program. Start with the headlines, right after which I'll introduce my analyst that will then come on board to review some of these headlines with us this morning. All right, let's start with the headlines this morning with the Punch newspaper this morning, with me as the first newspaper to review this morning. All right, like I said, we have the Punch newspaper this morning with this one as the banner headline saying hardship protests, US, UK, Canada issues security alerts. Traders fear looting. Okay, saying that foreign missions foresee violence as federal government will be defer on protest sponsors. You can get full details of that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And still from the Punch newspaper, we have this one saying fuel crisis. Fuel rises to 1,300 naira per litre as depots run dry. Fuel rises to 1,300 naira per litre as depots run dry. That story is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We've got this one saying only NNPCL can buy Dangote petrol. Only NNPCL can buy Dangote petrol. That's coming from Ipman. You can get full details of that story on page 31 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Okay, SIM NIN linkage. Telcos begin final mass disconnection. SIM NIN linkage. Telcos begin final mass disconnection. You can get full details of that story there on page 31 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Federal government scholarship beneficiaries, Rights Minister, fault 56% funding cuts. Federal government scholarship beneficiaries, Rights Minister, fault 56% funding cuts. Can get full details of that story right there on page 8 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We have this one here saying, victims under pressure to drop police station rape case. Victim under pressure to drop police station rape case. That's coming from Family. You can get full details of that story from pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And we have this one still from the Punch newspaper saying court orders 1 billion naira payments to Shining Bank's ex-staff. Court orders 1 billion naira payments to Shining Bank ex-staff. You can get that story on page 7 of the Punch newspaper this morning. LH Telecoms acquires majority stakes in Line Mobile. LH Telecoms acquires majority stake in Nine Mobile. Okay, you can get full details of that story on page 32 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all we have from the Punch newspaper this morning. Very quickly, let's check the Nigerian Tribune. With the banner headline here from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune saying planned protests. Senators, reps join last-minute mediation. Planned protests. Senators, reps join last-minute mediation. And the story has a rider that says Peter Obi reviews those behind protests. CPPE cautions against likely economic impact. Says it could inflict daily loss of 400 billion naira. CPPE cautions against likely economic impacts. Says it could inflict daily loss of 400 billion naira. And we have this one saying NAF airstrikes destroy 12 illegal refining sites in Abia rivers. Okay, NAF airstrike destroy 12 illegal refining sites in Abia rivers. Can get full details of that story on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Ekiti 2026, why I won't contest against Oyebamiji. That's coming from Bamidele. Okay, Ekiti 2026, why I won't contest against Oyebamiji. Okay, that's coming from Bamidele. You want to know why? Check out page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Uncertainty over 1.2 trillion naira deep sea port projects. Uncertainty over 1.2 trillion naira deep sea port projects. Investigation. Check details of that on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And we have this one saying NDLEA recovers Spain-bound cocaine consignment from businessman Sandal at Lagos Airport. NDLEA recovers Spain-bound cocaine consignment from businessman Sandal at Lagos Airport. Can get full details of that story on page 26 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying Access Bank wins Euro Money Award for excellence. Access Bank wins Euro Money Award for excellence. You can get full details of that story on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Out-chartered aircraft operation rip off Nigeria. Out-chartered aircraft operation rip off Nigeria. Full details of that report is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And we have this one saying ethnic nationalities to Tinubu, applied doctrine of necessity to rescue Nigeria. Ethnic nationalities to Tinubu, applied doctrine of necessity to rescue Nigeria. You can get full details of that story on page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. This one says indigenous shipping reps stress need for amendments of NIMASA Acts. Indigenous shipping reps stress need for amendment of NIMASA Acts. Can get full details of that story on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And we have this one lastly here from the Punch newspaper saying federal government's palliative will not address food inflation. Agriculture is talking there. Federal government's palliative will not address food inflation. Agriculturist, who is the agriculturist talking, get the full details of that story on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And still from the Nigerian dailies this morning, we are done with the Nigerian Tribune. Let's see what we have from the Nation newspaper this morning. With this one as the banner headline of the Nation newspaper saying recapitalization. 5 banks in capital markets to raise 1.26 trillion naira. Okay, recapitalization. 5 banks in capital market to raise 1.26 trillion naira. Investigators get huge opportunity to expand scope. Investigators get huge opportunity to expand scope. You can get full details of that story on page 8 of the Nation newspaper this morning. Still from the Nation newspaper, we have this one saying NAF strike destroy 12 illegal refineries in Abia rivers. NAF strikes destroy 12 illegal refineries in Abia rivers. You can get full details of that story on page 7 of the Nation newspaper this morning. We have this one saying 28 housemates begin chase of 100 million naira SUV in Big Brother Niger. 28 housemates begin chase of 100 million naira SUV in Big Brother Niger. You can get full details of that story on page 7 of the Nation newspaper this morning. This one says CBN clears next of kin to claim funds in dormant accounts. CBN clears next of kin to claim funds in dormant accounts. You can get that story from page 7 of the Nation newspaper this morning. And then this one says reports indicts private airlines of regulatory infractions. Reports indicts private airlines of regulatory infractions. That story is there on page 8 of the Nation newspaper this morning. And this one saying Kamala Harris campaign raises 200 million in 1 week. Kamala Harris campaign raises $200 million in 1 week. Can get full details of that story right there on page 38 of the Nation newspaper this morning. Still from the Nation newspaper this morning, leave Lagos out of it. NLC tells protest promoters, okay? Leave Lagos out of it. NLC tells protest promoters. Ayab till the others shun agitation. Okay, can get full details of that story on page 6 of the Nation newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying Kenneth Okonkwo dumps Obi. That story is on Obi Labour Party. Okay, Kenneth Okonkwo dumps Obi Labour Party. Can get full details of that story on page 8 of the Nation newspaper this morning. And lastly, here, it's saying 2 killed in Boko Haram's attack on police station. 2 killed in Boko Haram's attack on police station. That's a sad one there. You can get full details of that story on page 5 of the Nation newspaper this morning. All right, very quickly, let's check the Vanguard newspaper also this morning. With this one as the banner headline on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper saying hardship, police protest against protest organizer digging. Okay, hardship, police protest organizers digging. There's a lot of rider here, and I'll be taking a few other riders here saying be cautious, can wants federal government. Protest organizers. Okay, Obi backs planned protests, says hunger, hopelessness are sponsors of the protest. Okay, stop criminalizing, politicizing protest. That's coming from Lukman to Tinubu there. This one saying police defend requests for details. Okay, police defend requests for details. Cite security concerns. Panic over planned protests worrisome. That's coming from Utomi. Ignore Adebanjo Afenifere not in support of protest, says Fashion Roti's faction. Okay, and we have this one says telcos debunk allegation of plans to frustrate and bad governance protest. Okay, and this one says telcos debunk allegations of plans to frustrate and bad governance protest. You can get full details of all of those stories there on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying Abuja politicians behind banditry killing in Benue. Abuja politicians behind banditry killings in Benue. That's coming from Governor Halia. You can get full details of that story on page 13 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Shortage for prices rise by 21% to 850 naira per litre as marketers short stations. Shortage for prices rise to 21% to 850 naira per litre as marketers short stations. You can get full details of that story on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying Jakonde Annual Memorial Lecture holds in Lagos. Jakonde Annual Memorial Lecture holds in Lagos. That story is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Gay marriage approval. Anglican threatens to break away from Church of England. Okay. Gay marriage approval. Anglicans threaten to break away from Church of England. You can get full details of that story there on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And lastly, from Vanguard newspaper, we have this one saying Spain 1, Nigeria 0. Super Falcons Olympics hopes dim. Spain 1, Nigeria 0. Super Falcons Olympic hopes dim. You can get full details of that story on page 38 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Lastly, let's check what we have from the Guardian newspaper this morning, with this one as a banner headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper saying that 2 years after PIA, NNPCL struggles with over $5.3 billion loans, JV debts commercialization. 2 years after PIA, NNPCL struggles with over $5.3 billion loans, JV debts commercialization. You can get full details of that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Okay, and this one says from the Guardian newspaper, this is talking about the headlines from the Guardian newspaper this morning, saying outcry as telcos ban lines days to SIM NIN deadline. Outcry as telcos ban lines days to SIM NIN deadline. You can get full details of that story on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Okay, the risks, danger of planned national protests. That's an editorial there from page from the Guardian newspaper. You can get it on page 12 of the Guardian this morning, saying the risks, danger of planned national protests. Like I said, it's an editorial on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying concerns as Nigeria loses 6 trillion naira to tax waivers yearly. Interesting one there. Concerns as Nigeria loses 6 trillion naira to tax waivers yearly. Okay, that story is on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. We have this one saying that supports Dangote refinery to reduce petrol scarcity. Ex-NDIC MD tells regulators. Support Dangote refinery to reduce petrol scarcity. Ex-NDIC MD tells regulators. Can get full details of that story on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. This one says Serap sues CBN over missing 100 billion naira dirty notes. Serap sues CBN over missing 100 billion naira dirty notes. You can get full details of that story on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Peaceful Guba polls not certain in Edo, Ondo, report once. Peaceful Guba polls not certain in Ondo, Edo, report once. That story there is a report, rather, is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying bandits attack Borno police station, kill loot armory. Okay, bandits attack Borno police station, kill loot armory. That story is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Protests. Obi named sponsors as CPPE wants of 400 billion naira daily loss to economy. Protests. Obi's named sponsors as CPPE wants 400 billion naira daily loss to economy. Can get full details of that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And that's all we have from the Guardian newspaper and also from the headlines this morning. Yeah, I will be reviewing the headlines this morning. But then before we start the headline review, we need to go on a short commercial break to pay some bills this morning. And after which we'll come back and I introduce my analyst. And then we move on from there this morning. Do not go anywhere. Stay glued to your radio set because it's still Newslands right here on omoluwabi 87.7 FM. We'll be back after this short timeout.
The voice of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
At break time, when my champ needs to keep going, he's going to need his favorite snack, made with the goodness of malt, milk, cocoa, and crunchy Niger-grown maize, containing calcium, iron, and fiber.
Break time is crunch time. So give your champs this delicious crunchy delight to keep them winning all day. Milo and a snacks. Snack of future champions. Milo!
Hello?
Hello there. I'm at the hospital right now because the kills are seriously ill. I've been on a long queue and the doctor is here to attend to me. I don't know what to do again.
You know what? How about the numbers I gave you while leaving?
Oh, the e-doctor numbers?
Yes.
Call them right away. They will attend to you immediately.
Hello?
Darling, just like magic. Junior is playing. Even Princess is eating like an adult.
You know I've told you to calm down. Our family is covered with e-doctor premium plan. With eDoctor, you have access to healthcare at your fingertips. Stop wasting your productive hours while waiting in the clinic for doctor. Subscribe today to any of eDoctor plans and enjoy online chat and call consult, laser therapy, medical outreach, and home care services. Simply dial 0704-714-2000 or 0701-000-8670. Log on to www.edoctor.com or visit us at eDoctor, number 2 Ocean Street, New Bodija, Ibadan. eDoctor, inspiring wellness.
This is calling on all telecom subscribers who are yet to link their national identity number with their SIM to visit the nearest office of their service provider with a valid NIN for verification and linkage, or risk losing the lines permanently. Your service provider will confirm your national identification number in the database of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, and help recover the bad number after successfully linking your NIN with your SIM. A link will then be sent to you to automatically link your NIN with your phone number. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC.
For the best in news, talk, and music, omoluwabi 87.7 FM is your best dial. Keep listening.
The voice of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
The views and opinions expressed on Newslands, we bring you the best of news updates.
Economic downturn. The states borrow 46 billion naira.
Right here, welcome back. It's still Newslands right here on omoluwabi 87.7 FM. And like I told you earlier, we'll be going straight into the reviews of some of the headlines that we have this morning when we come back from the break. And we are back from the break right about now. This morning, I have with me in the studio Professor Wale Akinyemi. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Tayo. Good morning to our listeners.
Okay, we'll be starting off. It seems the issue of the planned protest is still very much trending as we speak at this point in time. And then we have all the newspapers reporting this same story this morning. The Guardian newspaper says protest will be named sponsors as CPPE wants all 400 billion naira daily loss to economy. And then the same thing is on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, but in a different way, saying hardship, police protest organizers dig in. And then we have this one from the Nigerian Tribune saying planned protest, senators, reps join last-minute mediation. And saying OB reviews those behind protests. CPPE cautions against likely economic impacts and says this could inflict daily loss of 400 billion naira. And then we have almost the same thing on the front page of the Punch newspaper saying hardship protests. US, UK, Canada EU security alerts. Traders fear looting. Foreign mission foresees violence as federal government OB differ on protest sponsors. Prof, let me start from this note. This planned nationwide protest is gaining international recognition already. So the United States of America, the United Kingdom, and Canada currently they've issued security alerts to their nationalities living in Nigeria. And then we're asking the question: is this painting Nigeria in the right picture to the world as we speak? Because international communities are already recognizing, they are saying, be careful right there in Nigeria. This might lead to violence and might lead to loss of lives and properties. What's your take on this, Prof?
Thank you very much. It's so easy for people to compare Nigeria with Kenya, but I can assure you that that comparison will be an unfair one. First and foremost, Nigeria is perhaps the most populous nation and maybe the biggest economy in Africa south of the Sahara. And considering the huge population of Nigeria, whatever that happens in Nigeria here can easily dovetail into the entire West Coast. And I believe it is from this dimension that the international community is very concerned that if Nigeria is destabilized, it can actually destabilize the entire West African region. So they are looking at the far-reaching consequences of instability in Nigeria. And you know, when you start protest, it's the beginning, you don't know when it is going to lead. People said it's going to be 10 days of rage. By the time they start and it becomes very violent, you might find out that you will have, God forbid it, years of rage. Like what is happening in Ukraine now. I'm sure Russia was thinking that that war would be over in 2 weeks, but we are there. This is probably the second year. So we want to tread very warily, both the government and Nigerians, in the issue of this protest. It is ill-advised but necessary. Such a very, very tough situation we find ourselves. Now, why do I say that it is unnecessary is this? I mean, it is necessary is this. Nigerians have got to vent their frustration to let government know the way they are feeling. And the fact that they are even sending a signal that they want to protest, you can see the way government is already panicking. Yeah,
I was coming to that. Many government officials have been speaking recently, and then you ask the question, where were they? Why were you not addressing Nigerians before now? Let me play a voice extract from the governor of Ogun State while addressing some certain students during a convocation service, so convocation ceremony in Ogun State. And then the students were kind of reacting, and then just let's listen to Governor Dakwa Abiodun of Ogun State during one of the convocation ceremonies he attended recently while addressing the students. Let's listen this morning.
I seize this opportunity to our youth to constructively engage with government to finding lasting solutions to Nigeria's problems rather than engaging in protests that may start peacefully but usually get hijacked and may lead to anarchy. What have we ever gained from protests except losses in productivity, loss of lives, loss of private and government property, looting, and vandalization of assets. This government has only been in office for 1 year. Cutting of the head is not the solution to a headache. Inflation is worldwide. Our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had very little choices when he assumed office. He had to take the bull by the horn. He had to remove the subsidy. He had to float the naira. Otherwise, it would have been worse. Trust me. Ladies and gentlemen, this administration has initiated a lot of interventions to cushion the effect of inflation. Recently, we've had the announcement of the minimum wage. We've had a lot of youth and vulnerable empowerment. Student loans are being put in place. Our Greek and fertilizer inputs are being given to our farmers. They are provided food items as palliatives at subsidized prices, amongst others. Great Nigerian students, this current wave of inflation is biting everywhere. It is in the UK, in the US, in Ghana.
All right, Prof. That was Governor Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State there speaking, talking about some of the things that the Nigerian government have been doing over the last 1 year. And then you can see from here, can hear the background noise of the students saying they are kind of reacting to what the governor is saying. And then you ask the question, where were these leaders before now? If Nigerians didn't come out to talk and say we want to go on protest, wouldn't they have sit back and then just let the status quo remain? What's your take on this, Prof?
The absolute truth is Nigerian political leaders have lacked all moral authority or moral stand to pontificate to Nigerians, because they are asking Nigerians to make so much sacrifice. I want to ask His Excellency Governor Dapo Abiodun how much of those sacrifices he is making, and some of his colleagues. The governors, since the removal of the petroleum subsidy, they have been earning about 100% increase in the revenue in states. Have you seen the reflection of this in terms of infrastructure, provision of infrastructure and other things in Nigeria here? At the turn of the 21st century, we are still talking about provision of water, provision of road, provision of medicaments in hospitals. These are supposed to be fundamentals of government. They shouldn't even be issues that campaign issues. We should be thinking of something much, much better. So the absolute truth of the matter is we have to sustain this tempo of putting pressure on leadership. If anybody feels that pressure is too much on him, then if you hate the heat in the kitchen, leave the kitchen. You don't. It's not an important. It's not by force that you have to be a leader. If you know that you don't know what it takes to sustain leadership, please leave the place and let the people who can do it, because you cannot be enjoying all the opportunities, all the privileges of high office, and then you don't want to accept the responsibility that go with it.
Okay, all right. Moving on this morning, new twist to that story. Someone came on board during the weekend and reviewed those behind the protests. The newspapers report this morning saying Peter Obi reviews those behind the planned protest. I want us to listen to Peter Obi. Who are those he reviewed? Probably they are the people Nigeria know, or probably they are the real sponsors of this protest. Let's hear from former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi. He also doubles as the presidential flag bearer of the Labour Party during the last general election in Nigeria.
We went into the emergency without preparation. On issue of protest, within the Nigerian constitution, protesting is allowed. All I plead for those who are protesting is to do so within the law and in a civil manner that allows us of the nation to show that we live within the law. Everybody knows the things that are difficult. I always say when they talk about sponsors of the protest, I said the sponsors are very simple. It's hunger. It's hopelessness among the youths. So we all have to listen to what Nigerians are going through.
Prof, you heard that. The sponsors of the protests, hunger, hopelessness among the Nigerian youths. We've all been saying this all this while, but Peter Obi is retreating that that the sponsors of this protest are not persons. We've heard in time past, in recent times, where some government officials are saying Peter Obi is behind, Peter Obi and his men are those planning this nationwide protest. But then Peter Obi have come out to say, see this planned protest, the sponsors are hunger and frustrations among youth and some other things in that line. What's your take on this?
Let me tell you this. Politicians are easy to blame opposition anytime they have this kind of a situation. There is no doubt that there will be some fifth columnists that will want to destabilize government for political reasons. But I agree absolutely with Peter Obi that issue of hunger, issue of security, and so many other issues are pertinent issues. They are the real sponsor of this protest. The absolute truth of the matter is that if situations are not there for people to protest, they will not even talk about protest. The truth, Nigerians are very, very resilient people. You push them into the world, you push them to the world, they enter the world. And that is the way and I think this is one of the reasons why our leaders have kind of become so complacent, because they believe that it's a highly polarized society. We can always use some things to divide them, rather bringing them together. But it will appear as if that strategy is no longer working. But beyond that, we must agree that there are some people that want to feed fat on this protest. I give you a very good example.
Okay.
So as we speak, some people are selling protest T-shirts.
I was coming to that,
for
sir.
6,000 naira. So if somebody says he's hungry,
ask him to come and buy.
You ask him to come and buy T-shirt to protest for 6,000 naira. Are you not making the merchandise?
Doesn't that speak volume of us as Nigerians? So it seems it's not just a government issue.
So it's not just a government issue. So it means that the real sponsors of the protest are faceless people who want to use Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians. And at the end of the day, it is these ordinary Nigerians that will lose their lives. It is these ordinary Nigerians that will lose their property. It is these ordinary Nigerians that will lose so many other things. So, and that is why the security organization must be up to the task to identify who are these people who feel that, because if you look at it, somebody that can afford to print T-shirts and selling it 6,000 naira, that person is not hungry. That person is probably part of the people that are actually inflicting the punishment on Nigeria.
Interesting one there. Okay, you can view us live on Facebook this morning. We are streaming live on Facebook at omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Omoluwabi 87.7 FM. We are live on YouTube too. Go to omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Drop your comment on Facebook. We will read them when the time comes. Just drop your comment on Facebook this morning at omoluwabi 87.7 FM. We are streaming live this morning on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and drop your comments. We'll read them when we see them this morning. All right, Prof, let's talk about this. It talks a bit about the Nigerian economy at this point, talking about finance and economy. And this one's saying concerns as Nigeria loses 6 trillion naira to tax waivers yearly. Concerns as Nigeria loses 6 trillion naira to tax waivers yearly. And that story there is on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. Nigeria losing 6 trillion naira yearly to tax waivers. But then many are saying it's not a big deal. You waive tax for some set of people for just to allow productivity and then to make sure that they stay in business. But Prof, losing 6 trillion naira to tax waivers alone, isn't that huge?
The problem we have in Nigeria is that we're only listening to one version of the story without considering the other. It is the hunter that is always telling the story of the hunt. And that story will always favor the hunter. But if you hear the narrative of the lion, you probably will hear a situation where the hunter has to be chased, that he will run and throw away his gun because of how ferocious the lion is. So what I'm saying in essence is this. Any government that gives tax waivers, they do what I can call a SWOT analysis. The strength, the weakness, the opportunities, and the threat. They do it. So definitely what you think that you are losing somewhere, you are gaining some other places. So if you give tax waivers in order to develop your industrial base, if you give tax waivers in order to provide employment for citizens, if you give tax waivers in order to bring back the price of goods and services, then you should not be talking about just that trillion, because we are just hearing one side of the narrative. So let them give us the total picture. That's where we now know whether Nigeria is losing or whether Nigeria is actually gaining. So let it be a balanced reporting, which I've always been saying it. Government is not set primarily to increase revenue because of I increase in revenue. No, government is not there just to make sure that the purse of government is very, very rich. No, government is there to satisfy the citizens, and we say that democracy is a government of the people, for the people, by the people. So the people consideration is very, very paramount in all of these things, and until we put it into clear focus, we will not be getting things right.
Okay, let's move away from that story and let's get to this one. This one is saying why federal government's palliatives will not address food inflation. That's coming from agriculturists. The federal government has been dishing out palliatives over time. We've heard that the federal government is distributing so tons of rice to some and maize to people so that they can just cushion the effect of hunger on the land. But then an agriculturist is speaking here saying palliatives will not address food inflation. Prof, are you thinking in that line too?
I am. I'm very, very persuaded that this is Babwala, what I call it, treating Nigerians as if they are beggars, bowl in hand, asking for palliative. It's not the way. It's not sustainable. It's not the way to grow a nation, really. Let me tell you what has been happening with this palliative thing that they're talking about. I saw a video, and it's so regrettable. There were actually bags branded with federal government logo, containing grains, beans, rice, what have you, millet, in a warehouse. So that means government actually had a commitment to send these things out. But you know what was happening? Some terrible people brought their own bags and they were emptying the content of the government bag. They were rebagging it to go and sell these things to the market. So the problem therefore is, it's not only the problem, the government that has a problem in this country, citizens also have a problem. The problem we have in this country, by and large, is that we are so religious in this country. Mosques are full, churches are full and everything, but we are not spiritual. The things we do does not justify the level of religiosity that we display. Because the people that we do this kind of a thing, they are the same people that we come out to come and blame government. So it's a vicious circle, and that's why I said it the other time, or I've always said it, that leadership is a reflection of followership. So let there be a kind of moral rearmament. Let us there be a change in the way we do things in this country. Don't let us have this idea of it's we against them. Examine yourself critically. How am I adding to the problems of Nigeria in my own little environment? Who are all these market leaders? What role are they playing in price escalation in Nigeria? If you ask me, they are actually the people to hold responsible for high prices of goods and services.
But then, Prof, what's the government's responsibility? Shouldn't we have a price regulatory agency doing this work?
That is what I'm saying, that until government comes very, very hard on these people, we are not going anywhere. Unfortunately, because it's a civilian administration, they are always thinking of the next election. If it comes so hard on these people, are they coming to vote for us? But that is such a very, very short-sighted view, because they should always be looking at the general picture. The absolute truth of the matter is that if these people, you allow them to continue like that, they're actually going to be the people that will ruin your administration, and that election that you are so scared of losing. The terrible way in which these people are behaving, we actually hasten that your failure, your political failure.
Interesting one there. Talking about food and food production, Prof, who should be responsible for planting? Is it the government, or should the government create an enabling environment for farmers to plant? Because you've seen instances where government is saying now, we are planting so acres of land during this administration, and then we ask the question, is it your responsibility to plant as government? Shouldn't we have farmers being sponsored, farmers being encouraged to do this business? And then we just have, it's going to be a win-win for all. What's your take on this, Prof?
there are 2-3 ways to look at it. If you look at Nigeria very well, there's hardly anywhere where you will drop seed and it will not germinate. And there are some sections of Nigeria that are good for particular crops. You know, through irrigation, they are doing a whole lot of fantastic agriculture in the north. Unfortunately, security has not allowed them to do it. I think what government should do really is map out Nigeria, look at it, and say that the eastern part, strategically, what kind of crops and all these is that soil good for that they will focus on. The western part, southwest, and the rest of it, the south. You know, it should be strategic. If, for example, if they say that the south, they are going to be responsible for our protein need, that Nigerians, most people don't know that we have a lot of money that can be realized through fishing if we really manage Nigeria territorial waters very, very well. Money that is probably even be more than oil. That is the truth. Most people don't know that the cattle ranching that they are talking about, they have done it here successfully before in the southwest. So they can go back to that to supplement what they are doing in the north. But a situation in which you politically frustrate other people from developing their potential because you want some other people to have a kind of monopoly. Because whether you like it or not, that kind of a situation has been happening in Nigeria here. Why should some people believe that it is their own right, their birthright, to provide the cattle that we eat in Nigeria? Why should some people believe that they are the ones that should always provide onions and tomatoes and the rest of it for the rest of Nigeria? Why should some people believe that certain things are their birthright? I think this is where government intervention is very, very critical. If you look at the United States, for example, in terms of population, they are more than us. But if you look at the people that are feeding the United States and even exporting, they are about the 20% of the total population. And that is because of strategic investment in agriculture. If you look at the value chain in agriculture, you actually find out that agriculture is supposed to be the base for industrialization. Because if cottage industries around agric chain value, if they are well developed, then it will translate into the industrialization of the entire environment. You can imagine, let's take Oyo, what Governor Seyi Makinde is doing here, the northern part of Oyo State. There will be some industries, cottage industries, that will be around those things. And whether you like it or not, what they are producing will be feeding the bigger industries. And that is the way it goes all over the world. So agric is very, very critical, not only for food security, but even for industrialization.
So you are saying that it's a role of everybody. The government and the citizens have a role to play.
Absolutely, all of us, our hands should be on desk. You know why government has so much influence is this, because their government, they have the capacity to control people. You know, for example, if we are talking about the issue of security, that the people can do it. If we are talking about the issue of land acquisition, government intervention is involved. If we are talking about even the quality of seed that people can plant and the rest of it, government, we have access to such things better than individual farmers. If you are talking about provision of fertilizer and the rest of it, the enabling environment, even for agriculture to thrive, government is the one that can put all of that. And that is why the bulk of the responsibility, actually, about 70% of it is on government and 30% is on the citizens.
Okay, I think we need to take this very quickly. But then, we are still streaming live on Facebook. You can go live on Facebook and watch us there at Omoluwabi 87.7 FM. We are streaming live on Facebook this morning at Omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Do not forget, you can drop your comments and like the stream as we are live streaming right about now on Facebook at Omoluwabi 87.7 FM. All right, let me take this. Still going back to the issue of protest, I wanted to take this the other time, but then we have to take it now. Leave Lagos out of it. NLC tells protest promoters. NLC is coming out to say, leave Lagos out of your protest area. What's your take on this, Prof?
Lagos is very, very cosmopolitan, and Lagosians are very, very accommodating. The absolute truth of the matter is that the case of Lagos, if you do a sociological study of Lagos, you find out that Lagos is making a whole lot of sacrifice. We are talking about a state that is very, very accommodating. It is Lagos State. Take their civil service. It's peopled by people from Ocean. You have more people from Ogun State than even from Lagos State in the Lagos State civil service. That's the reality. Take the teaching service commission. You have more people from the southeast as teachers in Lagos, and they are enjoying all the facilities. if you take Lagos schools, all the people that are there, go and check the register. You will see more names from the southern part of the country, southeast part of the country on the list. And government of Lagos is providing all of these things. The same thing, and because of the population of people in Lagos, there is so much pressure on even infrastructure. So Lagos is spending a whole lot. The case of Lagos is quite different from the case of other states. So it will be most unfortunate if these people that Lagos has accommodated, that Lagos is making a tremendous sacrifice for, they now constitute themselves into a nuisance to begin to destroy our common patrimony in Lagos. And that is why I agree with people who are saying that take your strike out of Lagos. There are governors in certain parts of the country that are not even paying wages, and their citizens are in Lagos making money. So let them go back to their home state and protest there.
Probably because the government will feel the impacts more in Lagos.
But is Lagos Nigeria? No.
But then, as we speak, Lagos more or less is the capital, economic capital of Nigeria.
It is the economic capital of Nigeria, but there are some other areas that are also very, very important, that are very strategic in Nigeria. Kano is strategic to Nigeria. Port Harcourt is strategic to Nigeria. Why don't they carry their protest today and destroy things? Look at what happened during the inside. It's most unfortunate. Lagos is here to recover from the huge loss and destruction during that period. And I don't think that we should allow that kind of a thing to happen again. If people want to, because, I mean, why is it that they destroyed BRT buses and no single bus was touched in Yaba or all the places where these buses are parked? They didn't go to those places. So you find out that there are some other primordial sentiment about this thing. We should not allow that kind of thing to happen. No. Lagos has the right to say, if you want to protest, go to your state and go and protest there.
Okay, we need to go on a short commercial break now. When we return, Newsletters will continue right here on omoluwabi at 7.7 FM. Do not forget, we are streaming live on Facebook this morning. Drop your comments on Facebook. We'll read them when we see them this morning. I can see some comment on Facebook already. You too can go live on Facebook and then good on Facebook and drop your comment this morning. When we come back, we'll be reading comments and taking calls this morning. Do not go anywhere. Still Newslands right here on omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Be back after the short time out.
The voice of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
I will show you. Junior, don't do that.
Sweetheart, no matter what you do, we show you love. So you can show more love to everyone.
Mom, how do you show more love to everyone? I will show you love.
Show some more love today with 4 more packs of your favorite Indomie noodles in Indomitable and Super Pack cartons. Also, each Indomitable pack is now 200 Naira, while Super Pack is now 350 Naira. So hurry now. Offer valid till stock lasts.
When it's bright and early, get your breakfast right. Baby, you need all the nutrients that will hold you tight. Baby, stay in power, you find it all in Peak. Baby, every move you make, Peak's got you all the way. Baby, and the beat goes on.
Power on every morning with a Peak protein breakfast to make the most of every day. Peak, reach for your peak.
Honey, this meal tastes so good and different. Wait, your meals have been extra delicious lately. Even your fries. Is that something you're not telling me?
Well, it is BBMB oil. It has made my meal taste so good. I now enjoy cooking unlike before. Even you, my husband, is now so happy.
BBMV oil?
Yes, BBMV oil is so good, pure and non-sticky that it can be used at home and parties for frying, cooking, baking, and lots more. Guess what? I'm even planning to be a distributor with BBMB oil because they supply in small and large sizes for consumers, retailers, and wholesalers, and there are trucks to move items purchased.
Wow, that is so amazing. BBMV Ventures, located at 36 Old Adioyo Road, Yemetu, Ibadan, and BBMV BBMV House, Kilometer 2, New Ikirun Road, beside National Library, Oshogbo. Telephone numbers 0811-581-3819 or 0905-386-5304. BBMV Oil. Eat healthy, pay less.
The voice of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
My Sabi people, how una dey? Na Sabi people dey listen to Sabi Radio. Omoluwabi Radio 87.7 FM, na dem be Sabi Radio.
Alright, you're welcome back. It's still Newslands right here on omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Right about now, the phone studio lines are open. Do well to join the conversation this morning by calling 07047 007999 07047 007999. Can also call us on 08053888933 08053888933. Those are the studio lines to call to be a part of the program this morning. You can also drop your comments on Facebook this morning. What are your thoughts, and what do you think about some of the things we've discussed this morning? You are free to drop your comments on Facebook, and also you can also call us on the studio lines this morning. We will pick your calls when we see them, and we will read your comments when they come in. All right, still talking about newspaper headlines this morning. We've got some other stories there we want to talk about on the show this morning. All right, let's talk about Edo election. There's a report from the Guardian newspaper. I've been trying to lay my hands on the full glimpse of the report, but then peaceful Guba polls not certain in Edo Ondo report once. That's coming from page 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. I'm going to be asking the question in this manner, Prof. Why at this age and time we are still scared of election? We are still scared probably election might turn into violence. Should it be in the 21st century? This is 2024, for crying out loud. We've seen countries organizing elections, and then people go about doing their normal daily activities. But then we are still concerned about people hijacking election mentoring period to perpetrate evil and then to cause violence in the land. As the report reads, peaceful Guba polls not certain in Edo Ondo report once. Prof, what's your take on that?
Our politics is too monetized. And the kind of compensation, remuneration that we give to politicians is most unrealistic. As I sit down here, a councillor is probably heading more than I do. So you can imagine what will happen when he becomes a commissioner or becomes a minister or a special assistant to Mr. President, whatever other name they may give them. And what is worse, majority of the jobs that some of these people are doing are just sinecures. That is, jobs that they just use to compensate you for siding a particular political organization. Some of the people that even put in offices, they do not have the core competence to operate in those offices. And that is why it is a survival of the fittest. And that is why most people will they will shed blood without the blink of an eye, because they know that politics is about the most lucrative business in Nigeria right now. So until we change everything, we reconfigure everything about our political system, we are going to be having this kind of tendency, because politics is about one thing that can catapult you from poverty in one day, and then you become
very rich man. Interesting one there. All right, let's read some comments of our Facebook page this morning. We have some people just greeting us this morning. We have I'm trying to load it. Okay, this one is coming from Akombi Olaoluwa saying, good morning, my brother. Good morning to you too. And we have this one saying from Arami Yaya saying, good morning. Good morning to you too. Stephen Oyewumi is saying, good morning. Good morning to you too. And then we have Atobatele Oluwa Kayode saying, good morning from Ayekale Oremeji Ibadan. Good morning to you too this morning. Okay, you too can drop your comment on Facebook as regards some of the things we've discussed this morning. Studio lines are also still open. 07047007999. 07047007999. You can also call us on 08053888933. 08053888933. Those are the studio lines to call to be a part of the program this morning. Let's see if we can pick one call before we leave the program this morning, before we leave the studio this morning rather. Okay, while waiting for that, let's see another headline here very quickly because it's a bit we have less than 2 minutes to leave the studio this morning. Okay, and then talking about telcos this morning, they just want to sensitize Nigeria. So we are in the last stage now. Many people are crying out already, saying outcry as telcos bar lines 3 days to SIM NIN deadline. Nigerians have still not linked their NIN with their SIM, and then the deadline is upon us already. Prof, your take on this?
I think it's an attitudinal thing. Nigerians have a way of thinking that don't mind them, they will extend it. They may be shocked that they may not extend it. The other thing, of course, is we should ask telco, have they made this thing very, very easy for Nigerians too? I don't think that. The other time I wanted to go and upgrade my SIM. When I got to the office of the you need to see the kind of queue I had to leave. So I'm sure if they make it very, very easy, if they decentralize it and people can go to anywhere and do this job easily, I'm sure a number of people will willingly go and do it.
Yeah. All right, sir. And that's all we'll be able to take on the program this morning. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of the program this morning. Professor Wale Akim, thank you for being a part this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, sir. My name is Oluwataya Joel, and I'm signing out today to give room for Jonathan Ibileke, who will take us on into the world of sport on the program Sport Rave. Right after which Kaka Kiroin will be coming on board. Okay, I work this morning with Tolua Tobiloba Thompson as our studio manager. I also have Stephanie Bamigboye with me in the studio this morning. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of the program. Until tomorrow morning, 7 to 8 a.m. is the time. Join me again on Newslands. My name is Oluwatayo Ajiwali. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.